For TRICHOMES.com, I'm Jesse Betend, and this is The High Ground. On this show, we feature leaders of the cannabis industry. We talk to everyone from farmers to CEOs and public officials, anyone making an impact on the cannabis community and beyond. A small but rapidly growing section of the tourism industry revolves around cannabis-friendly vacation destinations, from events and activities where consumption is allowed to lodging and tours. Cannabis has been tied to in-person gatherings since before there was even an industry to speak of, and it will still be some time before we go back to traveling and gathering the way that we used to. So what does the future of the cannabis tourism industry look like after COVID-19? Today, I'm joined by Monique Jackson-Fitzgerald. She's the CEO and co-founder of Indica.com. That's Indica spelled I-N-N, because Indica is a company that helps people book cannabis-friendly vacations. She's also the co-founder of Lazy Turtle LLC, which provides consulting to cannabis companies from packaging to complying with regulators to navigating the challenges of the current moment. And she's a lawyer with her own law firm. Monique, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Starting at the beginning, before we dive into the current moment and its impact on all of us, how do you describe Indica and what you guys do?
My husband and I developed Indica as an online platform to really bring together a community of travelers that were interested in more transformational and wellness experiences. People who are, lovers of cannabis, people who are lovers of adventure, and really just to create a place to share spaces, to share stories, share trip reviews, and build this community up as the cannabis industry itself was building up.
Obviously, we're in a moment where travel and tourism is being impacted very directly. On the whole, what have the past couple months looked like for you?
Well, it's interesting. May is California Travel Month from the California Tourism Association. Visit California. And so, leading up to this quarantine stay-at-home initiative, we were seeing tons of growth in the California tourism. The last number was, last year they had over $144 billion in travel spending. And unfortunately, it's taking a huge hit now. But with that being said, I think there is reason to see there's a light at the end of this, right? We're seeing it now as we start to slowly get back some normalcy in our routines. We're starting to see more businesses open up in other states, and now here in California, we're going into lessening some of the stay-at-home restrictions. So I think we took a hit. There's been job losses. Their businesses have closed, but on the whole, I think we can recover from this. The cannabis tourism sector was a small portion of the worldwide tourism business. And we're like a seedling, right? We were just starting to grow. But just like the cannabis plant, we're super strong. And I think our roots are deep and that we can all survive this and we can come through this stronger and probably better, offering more to the community than we were offering before.
Running Indica.com, you have this kind of like bird's eye view on what that is looking like. And in terms of lodging, bed and breakfast, cannabis friendly, like hotels or things like that. Do you foresee people going back to doing travel, staying in other places that are not their homes again, as we did before?
Absolutely. I think, for us personally, and I think for most people right now, our focus is on staying home and staying healthy. But that doesn't mean that we'll be staying home forever. There are ways to plan your adventures now. You can, start looking for new destinations that you want to check out. One thing, I think we're going to travel differently. I am really impressed. The American Hotel and Lodging Association issued some guidance for properties so that you can implement strict cleaning and disinfecting protocols for guests and inform them of what those protocols will be when they come stay with you. I think for properties in particular, lodging properties, it's really important to get the message out to guests that they can be safe and healthy in your environment. So that means making sure that all of your employees are using the PPE, that you have an SOP set up for cleaning, disinfecting in between guests. Maybe you need to invest in better disinfecting solutions, things that are being recommended by the CDC. They have a list available online for you so you can check and see what substances are recommended to actually kill this disease and virus. So I think there's a lot of things right now that properties, venues, hotels, inns can do to comfort guests and let them know that when they're ready, they will have a safe, lovely experience with you. I started this company with my husband, so we've used this time to reevaluate our plans. Going into this, we were actually preparing to sell our house to finance the second stage of our development. So we've had to reevaluate whether that's still the right move for us and how we're going to move forward. But use this time if you have capital improvements on your property that you wanted to do. Take advantage of the downtime and do it. If you maybe you've been struggling with your marketing efforts, maybe you've been struggling to get guests in, this is the time to look at, okay, what's missing? Can you create content around showcasing your property's features? Especially for events, the event space has been hit so hard right now, and for them, look at. We've seen Event High has done a wonderful job promoting a lot of online events for people to attend. I was thinking today, wouldn't it be great if one of the tour companies did a virtual reality tour of a grow facility and posted that so that people could see, the inside of a grow and what they could possibly experience once the tours are back up and running. So there's lots of opportunities here, and we need to. I get it. This is hard. We're making difficult decisions for ourselves and our businesses. We've ourselves looked at, how are we going to survive? But at the same time, use this as an opportunity to generate new ideas, new creativity, breathe some life back into things.
I imagine that one of the many factors here is going to be the safety of employees, in addition to travelers. And while we may still be months away from anything looking like normal travel or cross-state travel and stuff like that, there's a lot to figure out here. But should companies be thinking about now building a plan for getting back to reopening, even if there are a lot of question marks?
Absolutely. Planning is everything. Don't wait until the governor says that you can reopen to have a cleaning and disinfecting plan in place. That's ridiculous, right? There's resources available right now. Even if maybe you don't know exactly where to start, there are plenty of resources out there that you can rely on as far as protecting your employees. Make sure that you're providing them a safe environment to work in, right? That means that you're giving them a training on how to properly disinfect and clean things, giving them training on how to do social distancing with guests and with coworkers, not just the front of the house, but also in the back of the house. I think this is definitely a time we have to treat everyone's concerns equally, including the workers, not just the guest, right? So if your workers are uncomfortable, make them comfortable, right? Find out what the problem is. Maybe it's something as simple as, making sure that everyone has hand sanitizer on their desk or has a personal set of gloves that they can use throughout the day. But these are all things that are policy, processes, procedures. Put all that plan in place before the doors open.
Do you see the public consumption or the safe public consumption of cannabis, whether that's in small groups or in a business, changing going forward? Is that something that we'll have to think about?
I think we're going to see changes in the sharing, public sharing, social consumption, all of that. It's inevitable. Just like I wouldn't share a drink with a stranger, I'm not going to share a smoking device or or a joint or anything like that with a stranger. It's unfortunate that that's impacting us, but at the same time, it's these are health concerns. This is not a moral stance or anything like that. It's literally just a health concern. I'm famous in circles for handing out wooden tips to everyone that I come across, so that because I don't share joints with anyone, and so in our social engagement and whatnot, I'm always promoting a more healthy exchange, if you will. So I think going forward, there's adjustments that have to be made. You won't be passing things around. You shouldn't be passing things around. It's not just COVID that you have to worry about. There's so many other diseases out there. So going forward, I think we're just going to have more of a focus probably on healthy consumption and healthy social consumption.
So besides the work that you do with Indica, you have a separate side business with Lazy Turtle. Tell me a little bit about what you guys do there and the story of how you guys got started.
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I founded Lazy Turtle Group in 2015 with an eye towards doing consulting and design in the cannabis industry. The regulations were coming online in California, and so that's when we made our jump. For me, that meant doing pre-regulation consulting with people who were interested in getting licenses in cannabis. And then it segued into doing more of a ancillary consulting with businesses that want to work with cannabis clients. And then we also do consumer packaging, branding, and design. We have a joint together, probably about 30, 35 years in packaging and design. So we're bringing all of that to the cannabis industry. And then also branching out into other areas of plant medicine right now as far as the legal and consulting side goes.
Focusing first on the packaging side, what goes into that? What's behind your design philosophy?
I think jointly, ours is more of a consciousness philosophy, right? It's about not just creating a box to sit on a shelf. It's about conveying the story of your brand, conveying the intention of your brand, and really presenting that to your potential customer base. Normalizing cannabis use as part of a general wellness focused lifestyle is something that we strongly believe in. I think it's a helpful tool for a lot of things. And so it's important to destigmatize it and make it so that you're not hiding, in a closet smoking by yourself. You can feel free to, enjoy your either as medicine or as recreation, whatever your thing is, enjoy it publicly, enjoy it and with your friends, and not feel like you're doing something wrong. And so the branding and the packaging really goes a long ways towards that, right? You want something that is attractive, something that you're not ashamed to have in your purse or carry around. And that's speaking for me because I have a purse, but and so I think we're seeing a lot of exciting things. We're seeing less pot leaf, old school kind of packaging, and more innovative, creative, special packaging. Things that are using more sustainable materials. There's been some amazing work being done on incorporating hemp packaging and hemp plastics so that we can reduce this waste problem that we have. Cannabis has a huge trash problem because of the regulations and the requirements that we have for packaging and labeling. So it's about designing things thoughtfully to reduce that packaging waste, but also still to elevate the brands so that they can stand out.
Tell me a little bit more about the waste problem with packaging. Why is it specific to cannabis?
Because of the regulations, right? You're required to have packaging that is opaque. Then it has to be child resistant. In some cases, child resistant for the lifetime of the unit, sometimes just once. So it's a lot of compliance side on the back end that goes into it. But some companies have really come out with some great things that are reducing like the plastic that's used in the child safety locks, reducing the amount of paperboard and whatnot that goes into things. So it's a balancing act, right? You have these requirements, Space for labeling is huge. It's like, where are you going to put all this information on that little teeny back panel? So these are all considerations that go into planning out the packaging itself and then designing the structures, designing the substrates, all of that.
You mentioned earlier, you yourself have the wooden tips that you hand out.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine companies developing new kinds of packaging or new kinds of products that either include like a shareable tip with your, vape cart, or some safe way when it comes to pre-rolls to kind of include or keep in mind the new world that we're kind of looking at?
Absolutely. There's some innovative products out there. There's even there's one that fits into the top of a bong, that so that you can share a bong with someone else. There are different varieties of tips that you can add to the end of a pre-roll as it's passed around. Alcohol wipes are essential if you can find them. Wiping down glass, all of that. Again, it's like a high level, think medical level sanitation, right, with these things, because I personally would not share glass or pipes or anything like that with anyone, but that's my choice. And, if your choice is to share those things, then do it as safe as possible. That means wiping it down, cleaning it down between use, making sure you're allowing adequate time for the sanitizer to work before use, because it does you no good if you put it on there and then you don't wait long enough, right? So I think there's steps that you can take if you feel like you really have to share, if that sharing is essential to you as part of your cannabis experience. However, I don't think that going forward that we're going to see that much of it. I think this is going to be a shift in how we do things. Just like you wouldn't share a beer with a stranger at a bar. Why would you share your joint with somebody that you don't know?
On the consulting side of what you do with Lazy Turtle, are you working with companies at all to think about all of this stuff going forward? Do you have advice for companies out there that are looking for advice?
Absolutely. I think now's the time to put in place SOPs. Always procedure, procedure, procedure. As an attorney, it's important that you focus. I always think that you have to focus on compliance first, then procedure, and then deal with all the fluff that you need for the rest of the experiences, right? So if you're not building on a base of compliance and SOPs, then your base is shaky and your foundation is probably crumbling right now as we speak. So have a procedure in place. Don't wait until someone tells you have to do something. A lot of this is common sense, right? We want to be clean. We want to disinfect things. You're going to see a shift probably in the tour market for a while, because not many people are going to want to be in an enclosed, closed loop air system, right, with other people. So start thinking of ways to pivot, ways to adjust.
What do businesses need to be aware of or thinking about when it comes to liability?
So I have to choose my words carefully on this, because I am an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice in this statement, so please don't take it that way. I think you have to be aware of making sure that you are creating a safe environment for your guest and doing it in a way that shields you from potential liability, which means none of this open up early with a liability waiver and think that if somebody gets sick that they're not going to sue you, because they will. These liability waivers are like a very thin shield in some cases. So I wouldn't rely on that. Instead, I would rely on having SOPs in place that show that you follow proper procedures to sanitize and disinfect. And that way, if anyone does become ill, either from this or some other illness, you are not on the hook for it, right? So protect yourself and protect your guest.
I imagine you have to kind of really break this down moment by moment, essentially.
Absolutely. And I think each business needs to evaluate it for itself. Like how much contact are your clients, your guests having with certain areas of your facility, like you mentioned. Also, are there ways to reduce interaction, face-to-face, touching, any kind of client contact? Are there ways that you can, for instance, with hotels, you have self-check-in, you have availability of, cleaning, having the cleaning crew come at different hours, that sort of thing. So there's not interacting with the guest at the same time. Definitely the social distancing is going to help. In a way, it feels like we talk about so many precautions to take and ways to protect ourselves and protect each other and everything, but we can't live in fear forever, right? So eventually you have to find a way to move forward without the fear. And you do that by layering yourself with the protection of good information, standard operating procedures for disinfecting and cleaning, guest protocols, all of that stuff. These are your shields. These are the layers that you put on so that you can go forth into the world without the fear.
That makes a lot of sense. And I imagine that we're headed for, leaders in those businesses are headed for interesting moments where
absolutely
they will have to deal with guests that do or don't follow protocol, or push back against those protocols potentially, and they'll have to balance what it means to be kind. To your point, it's going to be a lot to work out.
Yeah, I think empathy is really underrated in our society right now, and sometimes just taking a step back and looking at things from somebody else's perspective can give you the solutions to the problems that you might have. So for instance, if you have a guest that is upset about having to wear a mask when they come in or something like that, find out why are they upset? Why do they not want to wear the mask? And then what can you do to make them more comfortable with taking those steps, right? So there's always a feeling behind somebody's reaction. So just give yourselves a minute and, step back and think about what is driving these reactions, what's driving the frustration, the anger, whatever it may be. And then what can you do to help them?
Monique Jackson-Fitzgerald is the CEO and co-founder of Indica.com and the co-founder of Lazy Turtle LLC. Monique, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me.
Absolutely. This has been wonderful. I loved talking to you, and also, I want to make sure that we leave on a high note, no pun intended, that there is hope. This is like this amazing opportunity for us to transform something that wasn't working for us maybe, or improve upon something that was working, and really, as businesses, present that to the world in a new light and show them that we can all come back together again, that we're all going to be able to stay, gather, play, and explore again someday soon.
That is such a good point, and that makes me want to ask, is there, just on a personal level, are there some things that you're personally looking forward to?
I am. I'm really looking forward to our next chapter. I'm looking forward to developing our vision of Indica and just continuing the way that we are. We're really, we took this time. There was some stress, but we really just took this time to reconnect with one another and reconnect with our passion for what we were building. So we're super stoked about what's coming up.
You can find more cannabis industry reporting at TRICHOMES.com, as well as more great shows like this one. If you're a member of the cannabis community and you have a story you want to share with us, reach out. You can reach the show at highground@TRICHOMES.com. Please take a second to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. It really helps others find the show. You can also join the discussion with industry insiders and get your voice heard by joining the community at TRICHOMES.com and following us on all social media. The High Ground is produced by David Fortin. I'm Jesse Betend, and thank you for listening.